प्रातस्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वम् सच्चित्सुखं परमहंसगतिं तुरीयम् यत्स्वप्नजागरसुषुप्तमवेति नित्यम् तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्गः। वपुस्तुषादिभिः कोशैर्युक्तं युक्त्यावघाततः आत्मानमन्तरं शुद्धं विविच्यात्तण्डुलं यथा सदा सर्वगतोऽप्यात्मा न सर्वत्रावभासते बुद्ध्यावेवावभासेत स्वच्छेषु प्रतिबिम्बवत् देहेन्द्रियमनोबुद्धि प्रकृतिभ्यो विलक्षणम् तद्वृत्तिसाक्षिणं विद्यादात्मानं राजवत्सदा व्यापृतेष्विन्द्रियेष्वात्मा व्यापारी वा विवेकिनाम् दृश्यते भेषु धावत्सु धावन्निव यथा शशि आत्मचैतन्यमाश्रित्य देहेन्द्रियमनोधियः स्वक्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्ते सूर्यलोकं यथा जनाः देहेन्द्रियगुणान् कर्माण्यमले सच्चिदात्मनि अध्यस्यन्त्यविवेकेन गगने नीलतादिवत् अज्ञानान्मानसोपाधेः कर्तृत्वादीनि चात्मनि कल्प्यन्ते मुगते चन्द्रे चलनादि यथाम्भसः रागेच्छा सुखदुःखादि बुद्धौ सत्यां प्रवर्तते सुषुप्तौ नास्ति तन्नाशे तस्मात् बुद्धेस्तु नात्मनः प्रकाशो तस्य तो यस्य शैत्यमग्नेर्यथोष्णता स्वभावः सच्चिदानन्द नित्यनिर्मलतात्मनः आत्मनः सच्चिदंशश्च बुद्धेर्वृत्तिरिति द्वयम् संयोज्य च विवेकेन जानामीति प्रवर्तते.
We'll chant verse 17.
सदा सर्वगतोऽप्यात्मा न सर्वत्रावभासते बुद्ध्यावेवावभासेत स्वच्छेषु प्रतिबिम्बवत्.
Though always all-pervading, Atman does not manifest everywhere. It manifests only in the intellect, buddhi, like a reflection in an immaculate surface. This topic is talking about how we must discriminate Atman from the material equipments through discriminative self-analysis. So from now on, a series of verses, in fact starting from the last verse that we did last class, verse 16 onwards, It is talking about how Atma is different from the equipments. This is being said again and again, maybe from different angles. Sada Sarvagataha. Always it is all pervading. All pervading means it is there everywhere. This is the literal meaning of the term all pervading. But it is unmanifest. Atma is unmanifest. It becomes manifest, Atma becomes manifest only through the medium of thoughts. Therefore, consciousness is manifest in a living being. Every being is conscious of its own existence. Living being you take from the, whoever you can conceive of the highest being, let us say Lord Brahma in the Brahmaloka, to the last which you can think of a worm in the gutter. If you can go even to microorganisms, it's okay. All this living being, one uniform principle is that it has a sense of I-ness, which is conscious of its existence. This consciousness is nothing but the manifestation of Atma in it. So therefore, when does it happen? We take the example of a sun. Sunlight is there everywhere. Sun's rays are pervading everywhere. But only when there is a reflecting medium like a mirror, you see a reflection of the sun. This reflected sun, you can equate it to what is known as this Jivatma, the individual self. So individual self is nothing but the Jiva. If Atma is all pervading, why does not everything here or anywhere in the world exhibit life? We know that life is a combination of spirit and matter. Matter is here. In the form of table also it's matter. And do you know that Atma is all pervading? Why does it not exhibit life? So this verse probably can be taken as a reference for the answer, that life exhibits only when the Atma reflects, and the reflection happens only through subtle body. All the other things that we talk about do not have a subtle body. Only when subtle body is there can you even call this as a gross body. All other things, technically speaking, you can say it is physical body. So, when we talk about all pervasive here, what it means is the Atma expresses itself as only existence here. It is just mere existence. Everything exists in the world. That's about all. But only in a living being, we see that there is a consciousness along with existence. Gross body is existing, within which the consciousness is functioning as the knowing principle. So therefore, only when there is a subtle body can there be a manifestation. The thoughts become clearer and clearer as our ignorance gets destroyed, as the reflection becomes powerful. See, the Atma is one and the same, the sun is one and the same, but we see that it is not powerfully manifest in various creatures. Even in human beings, in some persons it's very dull, in some persons it's very bright. There's no differentiation in the Atma. It is only the reflecting medium that needs correction. When a person in a very dirty pool of water, the sun is there, but it's not very clearly reflected. But if you keep on polishing the mirror, or if you keep on removing the dirt from the water, it is much more clear. Therefore, the spotting of the Atma, the understanding of Atma is also has to be seen through the reflection of the mind. Here it is given as intellect. It means the pool of thoughts only. See, a person is going to the lake. If it is a clear lake, he would have seen his reflection in the water. But it is not clear. There are various bubbles that are coming from the bottom of the lake. There is wind that is blowing. There are ripples and waves that are happening because of that. So in that, how can he see? So he has to make sure that the lake is placid. It is very calm. So the vasanas from inside has to go away. The passions of the mind has to go away. Then the ripples of the senses and other things has to go away. As it becomes clearer and clearer, his face is very much seen inside it. The moment he sees his own face reflected in the lake, though it is an objective experience, he understands that realization is actually subjective. In that clear lake, suppose if he sees a stain on his face, does he disturb the water to clear it? No, he immediately removes it from here. So though the vision is as though outside, the realization is inside. So all this happens only if there is something known as this reflecting surface. So the aim of our sadhana is to make this mirror first clear of all the dirt. Then the film of the mirror also becomes thinner and thinner. As much as possible, you make it extremely thin. Finally, in the last phases, it really does not sustain by itself. It has to go away. That is why in this verse, Swamiji has interpreted it even from the point of view of what we study in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 53. He talks about how meditation is the last point before realization, and in that meditation, with the help of the intellect, when you keep the mind aloft on all the single pointed thought, when that goes away, what remains is the self. So what is the final equipment that goes away is the intellect. So you can say that it is through intellect that the self is revealed. In that sense, another interpretation is here. See, what happens in the seat of meditation is all the thoughts which are flying in all directions is brought to a single pointed thought, single thought. Of course, it comes in stages. And when you are in a state of renunciation, you are still dealing with a minimum number of thoughts, but they are still a pool of thoughts, but they are much more focused, much more disciplined. You don't have, the Nischala and Achala. There are no various movements of the mind. From place to place, it doesn't go because it is not interested in all those areas now. There is no tendency to go there. But still, there will be fidgety tendency of the mind, which can be calmed only finally in the seat of meditation. Karma, bhakti, jnana, everything leads to renunciation. Even then you will do some sadhana, but now more of meditation and other antaranga sadhana or inward practices are done. So the thought of the self, which is the last thought of the self is any thought that you consider as the self, that as the figure is kept in the mind as the last thought. So mind is now a flow of thought, but it is a single thought. In the single thought it is flowing. How do you keep that mind aloft in that same position? That is where intellect comes, and the technique of japa or chanting of the name. Actually internally, mentally you have to do it. In the initial phases of meditation, we can do it aloud. You can even open your eyes in the beginning stage if you have a light or a murti or a photo or something in front of you. All this is conducive for meditation later on. But we need to focus first. All these are there. So later, the technique of japam. In fact, japamala is also, what is it called? Telling of the rosary beads. They do it one by one. They do so that there is a count, and each and every chant that you do is synchronized with each and every roll of the bead. It's a very scientific practice. You sit on your Padmasana position or the Padmasana, and like this, ideally you will find that some Jain Munis and others also, they keep this Hare Krishna people. They keep a bag here, and you will find that there is a hole for this finger to jet out like this. Because when you do even meditation, after a big time it becomes mechanical. This finger slowly comes here. So it has to be kept like this. And for purposes of convenience, you can do like this, which is the easy way of doing. Some people do it in the hard way by rotating with the middle finger and the ring finger, which is difficult. They come up to the point of Meru, and then they don't cross the Meru, they reverse and then again do it like this. The reason is that that again should not become mechanical. You are consciously reversing the process. Now the japa is very scientific, because with each and every chant, suppose you keep the mantra Om as the symbol of the Supreme Self, you close the eyes and you chant. Now I am chanting aloud, but in the later stage it will be very silent or whispers. Om, Om, Om. like that the chant goes. And as for every chant there is a rosary bead that is being rotated. What is the idea behind this is that suppose if the mind wanders somewhere, what happens is that since it is synchronized with the rotating of the rotary, this rosary beads, automatically the rotating stops. Once the rotating stops, there is somebody as though telling you, come on, where is your mind going? Bring it back. This is a scientific technique to synchronize the chant of the mind with the telling of the rosary beads. This, when you practice good enough or good time enough, maybe at a later stage you don't need the beads, like you don't need any other external aids like that. So now the mind is there in the form of a single pointed thought flow. That single pointed thought flow is maintained by the chant. The chant has a pair. That pair is sound and silence. Om, silence. Om, silence. Like that it goes. And what is this intellect doing? Intellect is watching this. It is only observing. It is observing the pair. For intellect to observe, there must be a pair. The pair is here, sound and silence. Sound and silence. Like that it goes. At one point of time, as the chant elongates and elongates, at one point of time the chant stops. That is said to be the sacred moment of realization. So when the chant stops and the thought is extinct, mind is obviously extinct. When the mind is extinct, the chant stops, there is no more pair. There is no more sound and silence. So intellect is perplexed, as it were. Intellect also goes. So mind goes, intellect goes, what remains is the self. A very beautiful interpretation. So in this, we see that it's a simultaneous existence of the chant and silence, along with the intellect that has kept that individuality at the very last thread of your spiritual journey. When that goes away, intellect also goes away. So as it were, who reveals the self to you? Obviously, self has no particular instrument for it to be experienced. That is clear. But the last equipment that points out that is the intellect. So in that sense also you can take that it is getting reflected in the intellect. But otherwise, as a person becomes more and more sattvic, his thoughts become more and more clear. He becomes more and more transparent. The self in him oozes out. 14th chapter of Gita says that's what it is. That it is sattvic guna is in the form of knowledge, in the form of purity. So you find that the sattvic person is a manifestation of divinity. Even well before realization, you can see as though the expression of self in him. It is very, very clear. Even to a normal person, that person is somewhat different from others. It's very clear to him. But the main purport of the verse is that wherever there is a reflecting medium, only there is a reflection that happens. So therefore, all the individuals that are there in this universe are nothing but pratibimba or reflection of the original self. That is why we retain that quality of the original self through the limited experience of the individuality. The quality of the self in its own inherent nature is called as Satchit Ananda. So individual maintains that. His gross body exists with this, which is the Sat. The subtle body knows, which is the Chit. And the causal body, it is at that time it experiences Ananda. So Satchit Ananda in the individual self is nothing but the reflection of the original self. This is the proof sort of you can take here. Yes, sir.
It's a bit long-winded. We are talking about the polishing of the surface. It could be a tone for that matter. In metallography, we have regularly seen that. You keep on polishing, it becomes brighter and brighter, clearer and clearer. So you are able to see clearer and clearer. Ultimately, you just said that when you go on polishing, ultimately it vanishes. Now, does it have any similarity with the Ishopanishads where you want him to remove the golden disc?
Yeah, it is, though it is not directly talking about it, you can extend to have that parallel that The last thought is that which is covering the self, as it were. It is golden because it is the thought of the self, and the sunlight is already oozing out. Exactly, you are not able to visualize it now straight away. That's also he commands that let the disk be removed. Like that, you can say that let the last thought be removed. That is what he's saying. So, but that polishing of the last thought, or it is what is removed, is not in the individual efforts, or it is not in your hands. It is last thought is removed by itself. It is as though the self removes it. That is why he commands that let it be removed. Your effort goes up to the point of meditation where you maintain that single pointed thought flow. That's about all. You can maintain that chant and silence. You can extend it as much as possible. That is the effort. And after relaxation of the effort, what happens is the self-realization. So it doesn't come under the purview of effort. That's the
So this we equated as a causal body as Ananda, subtle body as Chit and all. But there's no mention anywhere for the Nama Rupa Tadva, because we say Satchit Anand is the basic, what you call, consciousness principle. But it manifests itself in the form of Nama and Rupa. Because otherwise we cannot differentiate, or so many manifestations cannot be visible. But there is no mention of this Nama Rupa.
No. Nama and Rupa does not belong to the self. Nama and Rupa belongs to the Maya, to the world. Satchit, Ananda, these three belong to the self. Combination of these five is any manifestation here. That's how it's taken. So Namarupa is not the manifestation of self. Namarupa is part of the world. That is why another name for world itself is Namarupa. That's all it is.
So, but as soon as we have this duality, before this with the removal of the last thought, we are in the realm of world, isn't it? Because
Yeah, we are in the realm of world. That is correct. I am only saying the manifestation of the self in a personality is complete as far as the living being is concerned, and particularly human being. So when we analyze the expression of the self in him, it expresses itself as the gross, subtle and causal body. They are also nothing but reflection. So the reflection happens whenever there is a reflecting surface. So the thought existence is the important point. Yes, sir.
So in enlightened person, we have a causal body, because causal body is by and large vasanas. The vasanas have been burnt. So there are only gross and subtle body left.
Correct. As far as the enlightened person is concerned, we don't bring in the gross, subtle and causal bodies into discussion, but for the practical purpose of we seeing him living in a body, even after enlightenment, in the world that he continues, we say whatever vasanas is left for him to experience through the body, that remains. That vasana is called as a prarabdha vasana. So the prarabdha vasana continues its journey, only that he has distanced himself from the entire personality. So that actually sort of mechanically goes through the process. So the prarabdha karma, the effect of which has already taken place, has to go through its course even for an enlightened person. That's the theorem. Though always all-pervading, Atman does not manifest everywhere. It manifests only in the intellect, buddhi, like a reflection in an immaculate surface. We'll chant verse 18.
देहेन्द्रिय मनोबुद्धि प्रकृतिभ्यो विलक्षणम् तद्वृत्ति साक्षिणं विद्यादात्मानं राजवत्सदा.
One should understand the Atman to be distinct from the body, sense organs, mind, intellect and the vasanas, and always a witness of their functions, like a king. Atma is distinct from the material equipments and their functions. As I said, this idea is what is going to be getting repeated again and again. Atma is the substratum of all activities. The activities are expressed as desires and thoughts at the subtle body level, in the mind level and the intellect level. The activities are perceptions and actions at the gross body level. The activating principle is the Atma, but it does not participate in any activities. It remains as a detached witness. So this is you can say the essence of this verse. This verse says that Atma is a witness. The term or the example used for witness in this verse is that Rajavat Sada. Sada always Rajavat. Rajavat means like a king. Vat means like a king. There's a very small poem which is there in the poems book by John Milton. John Milton is said to be a very great philosophical English poet, and halfway through his life he became blind. So he writes a sonnet. Sonnet is a small poem of 14 lines. He writes a sonnet called On His Blindness. He is talking about his own blindness. It is said that it is required, only a Milton can understand Milton. If you want to understand Milton, you have to be a Milton. That means he is very tough, very subtle in his message. So on his blindness, he says, if I think of my life, half my days are spent in darkness, meaning I've lost the eyesight. He is as though raising it as a complaint towards God. Why did he make me blind? After all, he has given me the talent of writing poetry. With that talent, I really do not want to gain name, fame and money for myself. I only want to submit to him my talent, meaning I want to write poetry for his sake and serve him. This is my aim, or this is my desire. But how can he exact day labor with light denied? He is wanting me to do the labor, but he has denied my eyesight. This is not fair. It is as though like a complaint he himself is saying. He is actually raising the question from the other side. He is not actually saying, but he is raising the question from the other side. But soon, immediately, he listens and answer comes. From where? From his own conscience, the answer comes. He says, the God does not want your work or the effects of your work, which is the fruits of your action. He is not really interested in all these things. He who bears the mild yoke, meaning in the spirit of a cooperative endeavor, if everybody is able to do their work in a detached way, that is the best way to serve him. Then the main line comes here that his state is kingly. His state is kingly. Thousands at his bidding speed and post over land and ocean without rest. Everything is functioning around the presence of him. What does a king do? See, in the modern context, you can say prime minister or chief minister. Like they are like the king. They are elected by the people to represent them as the ruler. All that the chief minister or the prime minister has to say or announce that I am going to come here. That's all. Everything will happen in terrific speed when he arrives, when he is there. Everything will be spick and span. Everything will be orderly. All the files would have been passed. All the orders would have been done. What did he do? What does he do? He does nothing. He sits there as a Sakshi, but a very powerful entity. Like that, you find that all the elements in this universe, which are very powerful, they function as though in obeisance to him. Upanishad says they function as though they are afraid of him. That is called as the controlling factor. Otherwise, if there is no controlling factor, each and every element can go berserk and they can destroy the whole universe in a matter of seconds or minutes. That powerful they are. But all are working in a very perfect unison. Very perfect symphony or harmony is there. How it is possible? It is only possible because it is all under the control of one supreme entity. But that supreme entity doesn't do anything. He is Rajavat. He is like a king. Rajavat Sada. When I consider how my light is spent means life. Light means here life is spent. Here half my days in this dark world and wide, and that one talent which is death to hide. That is one talent which is there. There is a potential that it may not be fully manifest, it may not be fully put to use. That is what he is afraid of. Lodged with me useless, though my soul more bent to serve therewith my Maker. It is useless with me now. Though I want to serve the Maker, I want to praise the Lord, I want to serve Him only with my poetry and present my true account, lest He returning chide. Doth God exact day labor, light denied? Does He exact day labor? Does He make you work but He doesn't give you light? I fondly ask. So this is the question that he is asking. He is actually making like a sort of a complaint. But patience, to prevent that murmur, soon replies. Who is replying is the voice of God, as it were, which is the conscience, which is his own Antaratma, you can say. Soon replies, God doth not need either man's work or his own gifts. Either your karma or the karma pala, both it's not required for. You take, even fruit that we take to the temple and offer is to say that my fruits of action are not for me, I oblate it to you. So therefore, but he is not sitting there expecting the fruits. It is your bhavana, that's about all. That is what he is going to say. God doth not need either man's work or his own gifts. Who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. The entire universe is functioning as though ordained by him. What should you do? You do your part in the spirit of cooperative endeavor. There's an aspect of life of Krishna, the Krishna Leela. He lifts this Govardhana Giri mountain. The story is when the rain is there, all the people take refuge and he says, don't worry, we have worshipped the mountain. Mountain has to protect us. So he lifts the mountain. And the story is he holds the mountain with this little finger like this. And all the people are there. And this is also very interesting how pure the people there are. So they are saying you must be carrying for long. It must be very heavy. We will also support. As though it is in whose power it is happening. So he said, okay. So all of them raise their staff and they also try to hold the mountain. The mountain stands on the power of Krishna, but everybody is supposed to raise their staff and as though hold it with support. What does this mean? Even without you, the entire universe is going to function. It is functioning on certain ordainer. It is functioning. Yet what you do your karma to your part. In the spirit of cooperative endeavor, not with the idea of egoistic notion that I am. So you don't say that I am writing poetry. I want to serve. The talent I have. No, that is not the spirit. Spirit is that whatever has been given to you, you do it in the spirit of cooperative endeavor without ego or egoistic notion. Who best bears his mild yoke, they serve him best. His state is kingly. Thousands at his bidding speed and post over land and ocean without rest. Continuously everything is happening. Yeah? Even humanity in this universe, even if you count it is only a few million years also, even if you say in the totality of the world it is nothing. Everything has been functioning smoothly. And the last line is very famous. It is used as a proverb ever since this poem. They also serve who only stand and wait. The person who writes the poetry, person who doesn't write the poetry, both serve him. Actually, what is required here is that humility, that understanding, that I am just an instrument and I must be used by him in the best way that he deems it best. Swamiji's commentary, the title of this sonnet refers to John Milton's own blindness, on his blindness. The poet turned blind halfway through his career. He starts the poem with a complaint. How does God expect me to express my poetic talent without eyesight? However, soon after he realizes that God does not expect anything from anyone. That God, Brahman, is all full, free from any want or desire. Brahman is like a monarch. This is what is the purport of this verse. Rajavatsada. Brahman is like a monarch. Everything functions in his presence, but he remains ever free. They serve him best who function without ego in a spirit of cooperative endeavor. It is the selfless spirit in action that matters in life, not what one actually does. So the one who writes poetry and one who does not both serve him. An acknowledgement that speaks of Milton's great humility. The famed last line, "They also serve who only stand and wait," has been used proverbially ever since. The sonnet presents two main characteristics of a perfect being: knowledge, vidya, and humility, vinaya. Vidya and vinaya go together. So in this verse, Atmanam Rajavatsada. So Atma is said to be what is known as a disinterested witness. The term used here is Sakshi. Sakshi is a deeper term than witness. We have discussed it before. Sakshi is that in whose presence everything is activated. In next verse or next to next verse, he is going to give the extension of this example like a sun. Sun is a Sakshi of all the activities happening in the world. But without sun, no activity will happen in the world. That is also true. So, if we say sun is all doer, in one angle that is correct. In another angle, if we say sun is no doer, that is also correct. From the point of view of earth, from the point of view of world, everything is happening because of sun. But from the point of view of sun, does even earth exist or not? It does not matter. So, from the point of view of the individual, everything is done by Atma, as it were. But from the point of view of Atma, it really does not do anything. So what does sun do? Sun is what is making good things happen, bad things happen. But sun does not participate in any of the activities. So it is just a witness. Witness is not like a statue. It's not like a tamasic attitude in life where you are not even bothered or touched by anything. Not like that. It's not an indifferent attitude. It is an extreme nature of sattvic guna culminating in the position of the self. See, this the Atma in you, the consciousness in you is actually the witness. When we talk about witness, people are talking about, I am seeing my own thoughts, I am seeing it as witness. In meditation, in certain guided principles and techniques, they do talk about this. What you have to understand is, even as you are practicing that is not the ultimate state of witness. Ultimate state of witness is only the pure subject. With a thought, if you are viewing everything else, that is practicing objectivity. See, objectivity or witness is both a state and a practice. The ultimate state of self-realization or God realization, talking about the supreme self only, that is the perfect witness. But how do you reach that state? You have to invoke that state of being a witness in each and every activity that you do. That is a conscious practice. So therefore we say at the relative level, let not the mind get involved in any of the activity. Let it be supervised and governed by the intellect so that you pull it little bit. And you view every activity just as a witness. This is the practice. So Sakshi is both a practice and a state. So where do we begin this practice? You begin this practice with the most external of activities too, because our mind tends to get involved in unnecessary things in the world. You get involved in a cricket match or a TV serial or something which is not connected at all, but the mind tends to get intertwined in it. And in the process, what happens? It really affects you. Whatever happens there happens to you. So you are not able to forget that and move along in life. So the witness must be practiced there, that you see that this is just a match. I am different from it. This is where you start with even unconnected things. Then come to your own work and workplace and other people who are there who you are not really directly connected with, because we practice that very easily with reference to animals where there is no connection. You admire the quality of a tiger and a cobra and a zebra also, but you know how to relate with them exactly. You admire every one of them. You have love towards them also. It's possible, but you see it as a witness. But when it comes to your own people, we lose that objectivity. And then comes the next circle, your close friends and relatives. Then comes the inner circle of your own husband, wife, or children, like that, which is the main family where the bondage is very powerful. There we are not able to take if the wife behaves in certain way or the son behaves in certain way. we lose our witness, that quality of witness. When others it happens, see, suppose if a death happens in the neighbor's house, you go and console because there's no direct connection there. So you seem to be less affected in it. But when it happens to our own self, it is not possible. So the practicing of Sakshi is for that only. It is ultimately to say that that is also not me. Then comes the last level where you say my own thoughts, my own emotions, my own body, they function as it were. I have nothing to do with it. When you completely merge into that self, that is the time where you attain the state of absolute witness. So witness is both a state and a practice also. That is the state of Sakshi here. One should understand the Atman to be distinct from the body, sense organs, mind, intellect and vasanas, and always a witness of their functions. So each and every activity, whether it's your perceptions, whether it's your actions, there is a verse in Gita which says, Guna guneshu vartante iti matva na sajjate. Gunas in the senses abide with the gunas in the objects outside. They are moving along with it. What are you worried about? It is just that they will act and react. I have nothing to do with it. Just as you watch a movie, you watch the entire show of the world through your experiences like that. That is Sakshi. One should understand the Atman to be distinct from body, sense organs, mind, intellect and vasanas, and always a witness of their functions like a king. Verse 19, we'll chant.
व्यापृतेष्विन्द्रियेषात्मा व्यापारी वा विवेकिनाम् दृश्यते भेषु धावत्सु धावन्निव यथा शशि.
To the non-discriminating, Atman appears to be active when the sense organs are functioning. Just as the moon appears to be moving when the clouds are moving. A very beautiful example here. Avivekinaha. Avivekinaha means fools, non-discriminating people, those who cannot think. What do? They don't understand the Atma to be the mere witness as it is mentioned in the previous verse. So they firmly believe that the Atma is only functioning when it is actually the equipments that are functioning. Now, this statement may, it may create a doubt in us. In general in the world, who is thinking about Atma, whether this is functioning, that is functioning? Of course, most of us belong into that category only what he is saying, but what is being said in this verse is that it is the fools who think like that the Atma is functioning when it is actually not functioning. It is only the senses and those things are functioning. But this is actually subtly being thought of and as though believed or practiced by majority of the world. How do we say that? You only replace the word Atma with God, that's all. Whatever, everything that is happening in the world, they firmly believe it is God who is functioning, God who is making everything happen. Not in the sense of loss of their ego. See, there is a verse in Bhagavad Gita which says, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahma ivatena gantavyam Brahma karma samadhi. Each and every aspect of yajna is Brahman only. What is being offered is Brahman. Who is offering is Brahman. To whom it is offered is Brahman. The oblation is Brahman. And therefore by seeing Brahman in all these activities, you ultimately reach Brahman. This is the thing that we chant. So each and everything is Brahman means, therefore what if we wrongly understand this verse, then what happens? Whatever I eat, Rasagula, this is Brahman only. I keep on doing every activities and say it's Brahman. It is only abusive of this verse. Rather, you may be right also in saying so. But then, you must be able to, let us say, eat a cow dung also. Like that it is. Say that is also Brahman and eat it. No. Whatever is conducive for me, I want to indulge in it. I want to have an excuse by saying everything is Brahman. Like that it is. So, When everything is functioning, well, you take the credit or you enjoy the results of that action. But when something wrong goes, then you say, no, it is all he who is doing. You wanted to go to this temple, why you didn't? No, he should call me, and the time has not come. All these things, when it is unconducive thing, they put the onus upon God. In the Mahabharata, this is what Duryodhana and earlier Dhritarashtra, they are of same genes. They say, why are you doing like this, Maharaja? Vidura is asking about certain things that he is doing which is negative. He says, don't ask me, ask him who is within me who is doing all these things. I am only an instrument. Like that is what Dhritarashtra is saying also in one context, same parallel context somewhere Duryodhana is saying. So, Avivekinam, they do this only. So, it is they who think it is the Atma which is functioning. It is not so. It is only an enlivening factor. That is what has to be remembered here. They think that the Atma is functioning, so subtly they put the onus upon the God. Perception belongs to Indriyas. Thought belongs to the mind, not to the self. This is the message of this verse. So the example given is, in the night sometimes you will find the moon is seen along with the clouds. As you see that, you will find that moon is fast moving. But it is actually moon that is not moving. What is moving? The clouds. Why does this phenomenon happen? I am not talking just from physics point of view, but you yourself can see that sometimes that the moon is not moving. If you change the perception, you see that the moon is not moving. But when does this happen? Why do we see this happening?
Knowledge. You come to know that it's...
No, with knowledge is fine. It is not... See, the point is, it is not through physics book that we are going to understand the scientific phenomenon behind it. But my point is, when you see up, you know, you have the knowledge also. Then also you see sometimes it seems to be moving. Why does that happen?
We want to see what we want to see.
You want to see the moon moving. No, it is a natural phenomenon that hits your eyes.
Because both are moving, we are also moving, and clouds are moving, the earth is moving.
And in that sense, moon is also moving. In this context, earth is like stationary, moon is stationary, and it's actually the clouds that are moving.
It appears that moon is moving.
It appears moon is moving, correct. Why?
Optical illusion.
It's an optical illusion. Why?
Because we see clouds as stationary.
Our focus is on the clouds. When the focus is on the clouds, you see both, but subtly when you place the focus on the clouds, you see that the moon is moving. You set the constant focus on the moon, you will see that the clouds are moving. This is the truth. In each and every factor, this is the phenomenon. There is a interchanging of roles which is caused by the illusion in our mind. The focus is on the clouds. So the moon seems to be moving, but in truth, the moon is not moving, it is the cloud that is moving. So exactly like that, Indriyas and the other senses and the objects, these are moving. You keep the focus on the Atma, you see all this moving. This is the purport. If you extend this example, we can also cover and say that any movement is possible to notice only if there is a stationary object or a stationary standpoint. So the movement of all the equipments within us is visible to us only from the changeless standpoint of Atma. We see our body is moving, the perceptions are constantly moving. We see the mind is also moving. Body is very constantly moving. Mind is also constantly moving. What you like today, you don't like tomorrow. Like that, it is changing its taste. And then intellect. Intellect is also moving. Though the rate of change may be small, it is still moving. So if everything is moving and you notice the change, then there must be a changeless point from which you see this change. What is that? That is posited to be the Atman. It is a changeless substratum. So that one point you can extend here. Another one thing is, in that night sky, the clouds themselves are visible because of the moon. Otherwise, you don't see the clouds. If there's no light, how do you see? So therefore, the senses, the mind, the intellect, whatever, all the equipments are visible to you by the light of consciousness. This is another point. So this is an example that can be used at a multi-level. As I said, first of all, it says change the focus. That is what is causing the optical illusion. Second, it says that only from a changeless substratum can you notice the changes also. Third is that which enlivens that is actually hidden in it. The moon, which is, you sometimes the cloud covers the moon, but you say there's no moon, there's no moon. You say that. But what is making you say that there is no moon is actually the moon. Because moon is there behind the clouds, enlightening the clouds. So a person who says no God, there's no God, what makes him say that is the God principle within him also. Like that you can extend this example.
This word vyapari could mean effort, could mean activity, it could mean the obvious business. In what sense is it used here?
Active in that sense only. It is vyapara. Indriya vyapara means the activities of the indriyas. To the non-discriminating, Atman appears to be active when the sense organs are functioning, just as the moon appears to be moving when the clouds are moving.
Actually, we say Atma is self-evident, means Swadah Prakashatva, it shines on its own light. Here the moon is standing by the light.
Correct. Here the sun doesn't come into picture at all. That is not the scope of the example. So the limitation of the example is like that. So sun is not there. We'll chant verse 20.
Atma chaitanya vashitya dehendriya manodhiyah svakriyartheshu vartante suryalokam yatha janaah.
The body, sense organs, mind and intellect perform their respective activities depending upon the vitality of Atman, just as men are activized in the world of sun. So this it is clarified in this verse. See, verse 18 and 19, verse 18 talked about Sakshi, and verse 19 talked about this Avivekis who consider the movement of the perception, they put it on the Atman, these two. It gives the impression that that Atma is witness, but it is as though an inactive principle as it is. So this verse slightly corrects that misconception also. As I said, the entire Atma Bodha, like in the Upanishad, it is giving the subtlest knowledge of the self which really cannot be explained through examples. So as Sudhakar Kabra asked, there are various examples, but they have their limitations. That is the purpose of the example. Purpose of the example is to show what is the common point between two. So 1 or 2 points, maximum 3. If it is there, it's a very powerful example. So once that example is given, you have to take that parallel points and leave the example. Then what happens is that if there is a misconception or some other thing which is not properly explained by that example, some other example comes to prove that point. So you have to again focus on that point of comparison in that example only. So like that, Atma Bodha abounds with so many examples that the picture of Atma is drawn that you cannot miss it. Like that it is given here. So it is a witness, it is an inactive principle, all that is correct. But inactive principle means, is it like a statue? No, that is not the case. So he says that this verse clears that misconception that all the activities of body, mind, intellect depend on the vitality of the Atma. If that particular thing switches off, which is not possible, it's a hypothetical case, nothing else will function. So everything is dependent on the electricity or the power of the Atma. Just as Sun gives vitality to the world. Surya lokam yatha jana. Each and every being in this world is activated by sun. When sun comes out, life comes out, activity comes out. When sun goes into setting, each and everything goes into inactivity, into sleep. From the smallest worm to even the tamasic person cannot sleep forever. He has to get up mostly he will get up when there is sunlight. He has to do some activity. Then even the sattvic person who is not really active in sense of organs of action, but he will also have to do some activity. So who is energizing everybody? It is the sun. So the entire planet, entire organisms, entire not only living beings, even inanimate. See what makes the rain fall? What makes the food produced by itself? All this is happening. If the sun were not to evaporate water from ocean and pour it as rain somewhere else, how will this cycle continue? So it as though happens naturally, mechanically, because of existence of sun above, though sun does not directly participate in it. That is why we use the word Sakshi, we gave the example of sun there. Sun is that which activates everything. Sakshi is not a mere witness. Is a thing which activates everything and then remains as a witness. Now, how is this possible? Can a person be really like that? You have to imagine it is possible. Lord Krishna's role in Mahabharata is like that only. He made everything happen. At the end of it all, he did not get affected by any of it. Whatever happened, as though he was a witness to everything. See, just for an argument's sake, I am saying, if you go towards Malavali, where our academy is there, there is a caves called Baja Caves near the academy. You have to cross the academy and go that side. As you go, you see, this is a nice academy. You go there and come. On the way back, there is a fire accident or earthquake or something. Then the academy is destroyed. You shrug your shoulders, oh poor thing, and then you go. Who are you there? You are just a witness. You have nothing to do with the academy. As an onlooker, from outside point of view, you are just viewing it. When it is in good shape, okay, it's good. When it is in bad shape, okay, it's bad. That's about all. Nothing affects you. That is witness. But being inside the academy, let us say you take the position of the creator, Swamiji's position. He has created each and every brick of it, every grass of it, and the students and everything there, knowledge. Despite doing everything, he maintains the position of a witness. If everything goes well, fine, well and good. If something happens terribly wrong, he will also shrug the shoulders. Is it really possible? Yes, that is possible. So if you are in that position only, you will be able to understand that being a Sakshi is possible. It can happen, anything can happen to your own. Gita says in chapter 6, Guru Napi Vichalyati, verse 22, I think. Even the heaviest of sorrow is no sorrow for you. Swamiji in the public lectures also always gives the example that what is the loss of a pencil to you? What is the loss of a wristwatch to you? Or wristwatch is there, what is the loss of a car? What is the loss of a house? And what is the loss of a family? At one stage, somewhere down the line, somebody buckles. A person who is losing the sleep because of loss of pencil, only God can help him. But you can go to such a stage where loss of family is also like a loss of pencil. There are stalwarts who have, in fact, those people must be our ideal. You cannot say that nothing like this and all, it's all theoretical in the class, it's not going to happen practically. No, that stance we should not say. You can say as of now, we are not able to conceive or live up to that ideal. That's about all. But it is possible. People have risen from the lowest level to that highest level in one Janma and also have shown it. So that is the state of a Sakshi. So just as the sun activates each and every being in this world, it is the Atma which activates everything. But having activated everything, it remains as a neutral witness. The body, sense organs, mind and intellect perform their respective activities depending upon the vitality of Atman. Just as men are activized in the world of the sun. One point here about the manifestation is, electricity remains unmanifest. Any gadget that you see here as a camera or a light or a fan or air conditioner is definitely a combination of electricity and the equipments. The equipments are inert and insentient per se, they do not have any life in them. Otherwise, when a bulb is kept in the electrical shop, it should glow by itself. It doesn't glow. It only glows only when the electricity passes through it. So we can say that all the equipments are dependent upon the electricity. Correct. Any equipment. And the electricity is a detached witness even though it activates everything. Why do we say it's a detached witness? Because it creates coolness through a cooler. It creates heat in a heater. It's neither hot nor cold. That's electricity. So it is neither attached to this quality or that quality, but it is the source of all qualities. So we can say that the equipment is dependent on the electricity. Electricity is not dependent on the equipment, but without equipment, you cannot understand the electricity in its manifestation. It is there. Only when you become electricity, you will know. Otherwise, you will not be able to know. So it is a very interesting phenomenon that only through the equipments do we understand the functioning of the Atman, without which it is not possible to know. But we have to understand that it exists all by itself. That is why few verses later he is going to say that Satchit Ananda is the glorious state of Atman. In its own pristine glory, it is there. But it is there means we don't understand it. We only understand it through manifestations. We conclude.
Poornam Adah Poornamidam Poornat Poornamudachyate Poornasya Poornamadaya Poornamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.